If Thanos attacked the Avengers in 2012, they would have been screwed. Hey everybody, OG Brown Nerd here, and if you're a fan of what if scenarios like this, Marvel, DC, rewrites, fanfiction, Dragon Ball Z, anime, please consider subscribing because I post about everything. The sky opens up as the Avengers begin facing the Chitauri. But before they can close the portal, the Mad Titan himself, Thanos, joins the battle. Now the Avengers immediately attack their new foe, but to no avail. Now as we saw in Avengers Endgame, young Thanos was absolutely ruthless. Being able to hold his own against the most powerful version of Captain America, Iron Man in his latest armor, and Thor wielding both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. Now the Avengers fall one by one because Thanos doesn't need them alive. The first to get knocked out and killed is the Hulk. I don't think I need to remind any Hulk fans how Thanos did Hulk at the start of Infinity War. Hawkeye and Black Widow fall next, followed by Captain America, Iron Man, and finally, Thor. With the Avengers dead, Thanos claims the Space Stone and the Mind Stone from Loki's scepter. Now the sorcerers of Kamar-Taj are not just going to sit by and let this happen. The Ancient One begins her attack, hoping to thwart Thanos here and now. So now we're going to have a two-stoned, ruthless Thanos versus the sorcerers of Earth alongside the Time Stone. But little does the Ancient One know, she's bringing Thanos exactly what he wants. The Sorcerer's forces are overwhelmed by Thanos and his army, and Thanos has now collected 3 of the 6 Infinity Stones. Now it really seems as though there's no hope in this scenario as Thanos portals away from Earth. But in New York, Loki appears in front of his brother's body, kneeling over it and crying, realizing what his actions have wrought. As the guilt becomes overwhelming, the Bifrost suddenly opens up and he feels a hand on his shoulder. It's Odin. "Come, my son, we must prepare for war," he says. The body of Thor with Mjolnir, Loki, and Odin return back to Asgard. Loki wipes his tears and tells his father that Thanos is seeking all 6 of the Infinity Stones. Thor's body begins to glow, fading away, a sign of him entering Valhalla. His hammer dropping with a thud. Odin wipes a tear from his eye and tells Loki he knows this is why he had Heimdall retrieve the Reality Stone. It is already in the palace, surrounded by Asgard's army. He then has Heimdall transport them to Nidavellir, where he's going to craft a weapon capable of combating the stones. As the effects of the Mind Stone on Loki begin to clear up, his sadness turns to anger at Thanos. While Eitri the Dwarf crafts Stormbreaker, Odin looks at Loki, telling him to pick up his weapon. Now Loki's confused. He doesn't know what his father's talking about. His daggers will not be effective against Thanos. Neither will any magic or trickery. Odin stares Loki in the eye and tells him, "Pick it up." Glancing by Odin's feet, he realizes what he means. He says he's not worthy, he's not Thor, he could never be Thor. Odin tells his son that this is Loki's problem. His whole life he believed himself to be unworthy, constantly comparing himself to Thor. Unworthy of being a son, unworthy of being Thor's brother, unworthy of being the Prince of Asgard. But the thing is, Loki has always been worthy of his titles, worthy of Odin's love. Does he not recall how Thor always told him he looked up to him? So why is it that Loki looks down on himself? Is he the god of misery? Would a god or a king let Thanos escape justice? The weight of these words is immeasurable. And before he can even reach out to grab Mjolnir, it flies into his hand, transforming and giving Loki a costume that looks similar to Thor's. Loki wishes his brother was here to see this. But even then, with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, it may not be enough, as Loki reminds Odin. Thor wielded Mjolnir against Thanos when he had no stones and fell. Thanos now has 3 and may have more before they find him. Odin agrees, expecting him to have all 5 stones before he knocks on Asgard's door for the final. He sighs as he realizes what he must do. He uses Stormbreaker to open a portal, allowing Hela to step through. Hela immediately lunges at Odin, but he's able to stop her, telling her there's no time for these games, that someone is gathering all the Infinity Stones, and they already have 3. Hela calls Odin an old fool, telling him that they should have gathered the stones when they had the chance. Heimdall warns Odin that Thanos has all 5 stones and he's on his way to Asgard. Now quick sidebar as to how Thanos gets the stones. He grabs the Power Stone from a planet called Morag and the Soul Stone from Vormir. Now, as to how he knows the location of Vormir, let's say in this universe, Gamora found out early and Thanos found out because of her. And we don't really know when Gamora found out about Vormir, but we do know that when she did, Thanos knew she knew. He just didn't press her for the location because he didn't need the stones at the time. And she's definitely getting yeeted for the Soul Stone. Now back at Nidavellir, Hela tells Odin to lead the way. With Loki powered up with Mjolnir, Odin powered up with Stormbreaker, and Hela getting stronger each second she's on Asgard, they are ready for the Mad Titan. Thanos opens a portal and enters Asgard with his armies behind him. Odin walks up, confronting the Mad Titan with the armies of Asgard at his beck and call. Thanos says that they can avoid all this bloodshed if Odin just gives him the Reality Stone, and Thanos has some sort of proto-gauntlet ready to wield the stones. Odin stares the Titan in the eyes before whispering, "No," launching a giant lightning attack, signaling that the battle is on. The Watcher watches keenly as the Chitauri, the Black Order, and the Outriders face Hela. Now they're basically fodder against the Goddess of Death, leading Asgard's army in the charge against Thanos' army, while Loki and Odin battle against Thanos. Now while the gauntlet Thanos has is crude work compared to Eitri, it still makes him overwhelming. Odin and Loki are barely able to hold their own. But Odin reminds Loki he's not Thor, causing Loki to start using his magic in conjunction with Mjolnir. The tides begin to shift. He casts a mass illusion of Odin's, creating multiple copies of him, overwhelming Thanos' senses. Through the chaos, one of them is able to stab Thanos in the back. Upon realizing that he's vulnerable, Thanos gets angry and blitzes Loki and Odin, knocking them out with a huge blast from the stones. He looks up and realizes it's futile because Hela is decimating his army. Because you gotta remember, she's basically unstoppable on Asgard, and when she turns her attention to Thanos, he's scared. She is able to hold her own, but what's interesting is despite being able to kill Thanos, she's not going for kill shots. She's trying to chop off his arm. She launches a huge flurry of knives at Thanos, which pierce the Titan's defenses, but before she can land the final arm chop, he manages to teleport away. Odin, Loki, and Hela regroup as Thanos appears in front of them, holding Frigga by the neck, telling them to bring the Reality Stone, otherwise he will snap her in half. Odin, visibly shaken, doesn't notice that Frigga winks at Loki. She suddenly vanishes and Loki casts a massive duplication, summoning thousands of Mjolnirs, sending them at Thanos, while Hela summons monstrous spikes, launching them at him. Odin flies up into the sky, summoning all the lightning and power he can before throwing Stormbreaker right at Thanos. And unlike Thor, Odin was going for the head. Hela's attack lands first as she manages to chop his arm off, while Loki's Mjolnirs disorient and throw Thanos off balance. They also decimate his body while Stormbreaker simply chops his head clean off. Now the battle has been won, but what's next? If Odin throws Hela back in jail, it would be super scummy, straight up just using her as a weapon like she always claimed. Even the Watcher doesn't know what's going to be happening next. Because at the same time, Hela is on Asgard stronger than ever with all 6 Infinity Stones in her grasp. Now from What If, we know Hela is capable of being changed, so maybe Odin sends her on a journey of self-discovery, letting her go under the agreement that she cannot hunt for the Infinity Stones. Either that, or it's an all-out Odinson family war, with Hela more than likely winning. Because remember, whenever one chapter of a threat closes, another chapter opens. But comment down below how you guys think this story would end. And please, if you want to see more scenarios like this, let me know what you want to see, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Peace. This was really fun to make, by the way.